My favourite place I've been to.
Stoke-on-Trent, oh yeah, to Stoke-on-Trent. Historic town on the River Trent.
We're in Stoke, aren't we, Fergus? And we're in the middle of a heat
wave.
How hot is it on that stage?
Everything is
Don't swear.
stuck together. Everything is stuck together.
Oh, I think we know what he's alluding to.
No. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. You haven't said the word.
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
Alluded.
Alluded to what? Something being sticky
Yes.
and sweaty.
So very sticky.
Welcome to Stoke, a city of clay, class and kilns. Currently situated underneath the stage because it's where I could find some space to do my little bit of a chattery boogery. Quite like it, really, seeing all the lights that hung up, the old power cans and everything. We have LEDs these days, which are less hot. These lights in the back here, they'll just bore down on you with heat, which is quite pertinent to today's story. The name Stoke comes from the Old English stoke, which means place, and Trent is the river, which means strongly flooding, which comes from the Celtic word Trent. I keep saying that Stoke is a city. It's not. It's made up of 6 towns that all work in tandem together. You have Tunstall, Burslem, Hanley, Stoke, Fenton and Longton. Fenton! Fenton! Oh, bloody hell. And each of these little towns has their own personality and their own fish and chip shop claiming to be the best. And they officially came together to make one city in and amongst all the others in 1910 so that they could collectively complain together. But the history of this area starts much earlier than 1910 with dirt, specifically clay. And the clay here wasn't just any clay, it was fine-grained and malleable. You know, the sort that could be a toilet today or bone china tomorrow. Now, pottery has been made here since the 12th century, and here are some examples of that we found over the time in this wonderful museum that Stoke has, possibly one of the best museums I've been in on the whole tour, which surprised me considering what is surrounding that museum. But it didn't really kick off properly until the 17th and 18th century during the Industrial Revolution. And a man named Josiah Wedgwood, or Josiah, I don't know if the J is pronounced or not. He was like the Steve Jobs of his time, except with a cravat and a teacup rather than an iPhone. Wedgwood revolutionised pottery. He invented new glazes, he even created and built the canal system to export it, and, would you believe it, standardised British time. This is quite interesting. In the 1700s, a lot of the towns in Britain held their own sort of time. They could keep to it, an hour was an hour, but it wouldn't necessarily match up to other people's hours, which is fine for markets and maypoles, but Wedgwood needed a bit more precision for how much he was exporting out to the different parts of the country, because if he was sending 500 creamware pots to the Duchess of Devonshire, he wanted that to be on time and ready. But if you go and send it on a Tuesday at 5 o'clock, but somebody doesn't come until 9 o'clock to come and collect it, this was no good for Wedgwood. So he essentially put Britain into synchronisation. His factory was called Etruria, and he had a big clock on the wall there. We've already talked about Sheffield steel and how that was able to make the more precise elements of clocks and time work better. Well, Wedgwood absolutely utilised that, making sure he sent out a clock to each of his factories so they were all on the same time, and if you wanted to be paid, you kept to it. So it wasn't long, being that they've got all this good clay and these techniques to make this fine pottery, before the skyline was full of these bottle kilns, named as such because of their shape, not because they were full of Lambrini. They fired the pots in coal-fueled infernos hotter than Satan's armpit, and the workers had to do long hours inside these kilns. So, as you can see, inside there's the bottle shape, and then inside that there's an interior, and that would be where the hot bit was. And these boxes were sort of fire retardant, and inside would be the clay. Now, when they set the fire, the fireman's job was to go inside that perimeter and stay in there for 60 hours. You think about a work shift today and you're moaning and complaining, it's like, oh, I've got to work this at minimum wage. Well, this was less than minimum wage. 60 hours you would be in there for. 24, that's one day. 48, that's another day. Hang on a minute. So it's about 2.5 days that you would be in there, people bringing you bits of food and stuff, and people's eyeballs would actually dry out. People's hearts would stop when they go from the heat and they sort of adjust to that, and then they step out of the heat to the cold. Heart has been stopped. It was a crazy, crazy time to be working. But you've got to pay the wages somehow, pay the rent and all of that. A huge amount of the workforce was made up by females, and the women were paintresses, dippers and placers, all with their different job specs. Personally, I would have liked to have been on the carving of the moulds, because it all looks like a fine detailed job, which I do enjoy that kind of jazz in my own life. And less heat, less danger, and you get a seat so you can sort of sit down and do something creative. So I think I've definitely put my CV in for that one if I was alive in the 1700s. But whatever job you did in these factories, you were pretty much gonna get some form of lung disease by the age of 40 with the amount of dust, smog and smoke that was around. So that takes us up to the 19th century, where Stoke was the epicenter of ceramics. People all over the world wanted fine Staffordshire pottery, and they delivered. Creamware, jasperware, bone china, which actually has real elements of cow bone in it. Nothing says elegance like sipping Earl Grey out of a cup that is mildly haunted. Oh, lovely. Moo. So Stoke supplied royalty, the aristocracy, your nan's glass cabinet that's got all of those weird china dolls in it. Oh yes, and the economy boomed. But the pottery was delicate. The system wasn't. Hard labour, long hours, toxic materials, and Dickensian-style working environments. Yet there was this kind of beauty in it. Art, culture, craftsmanship. So, yeah, you know, at what point do you lay the line down and go, no, we don't want to have this stuff that I can now talk about, but we do want to have this stuff so that I can talk about it. But how many people had to suffer to create the nice things for the rich people? Oh, I think we have, you know, a lot of these problems still to this day, don't we? But now the kilns are cold, the factories are flats, and Wedgwood in a museum next to a Spitfire, which takes us quite neatly on to our next little chapter. Reginald Mitchell, the namesake of the local Wetherspoons. He was born in Stoke, and he gave Britain one of its greatest wartime weapons, the Spitfire. It was known for its speed, its manoeuvrability in the air, and its usage in the Battle of Britain, where it was able to go higher than the German Luftwaffe and outmaneuver them and shoot them out of the sky. The Messerschmitts just couldn't keep up with us. Being that the main tenet of their invasion plan was to have air superiority. If you have the superiority over the air, you can control what is going on the ground. And we did, because of the Spitfire. So now we arrive in 2025, and what gave Stoke its whole purpose for being is pretty much gone. Now we've got Bet365, which is actually the town's biggest employer. The phrase "the cost of living crisis" hits differently in Stoke, because it's not a crisis per se here. It is more of a default setting. But it's not all grim. There is a sort of level of culture here that borders on sort of emotional hostage taking. The accents are so thick they need some subtitles, but if you get welcomed in trying to leave before last orders is called, it's nigh on impossible. In fact, they'll lock the door, get the ashtrays out and smoke at the bar like the old days, and talk about how it used to be. And there's that unity in the struggle together, which has always been the case. Every time that a place or a group of people get oppressed, they come together to share in their troubles, and that is where the hope usually springs from, to make a better and brighter future for themselves. So, you know, the locals stay. But hope can only get you so far. I don't really know what the future might be for Stoke, other than some form of heritage theme park. Come to Stoke Ride the giant teacup of history. Dine in the Spitfire Cafe, now vegan. Experience the interactive poverty simulator, featuring real council paperwork. And of course, every child will get a complimentary lung disease upon leaving. But maybe, just maybe, there is still fire in the kiln, still clay in the ground, still spirit in the Stokies. Because if there is one thing this city knows how to do, it's to have a mess and make something pretty out of it. So I just pray and hope that they find something to lift them up out of this dip that they're currently in. Stoke doesn't break unless you drop it. Overall, I had a fantastic time. I did enjoy myself in Stoke. I met some good friends. I had some good nights out. The Italian said it was authentic. I'll leave that to your own personal judgment if you ever go there.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
But when I finally got to the clay kilns and looking around at that, it was awe-inspiring to see the amount of work that goes into these pots and teapots and ceramic work in general. It really did inspire me to go, wow, you know, this nation really does push itself all the time to create something better. Next stop, though, is Blackpool, where the sea meets the slot machines and teeth are in short supply. If you are enjoying this dry descent into regional melancholy, then please consider liking and subscribing and hitting that little bell as Yo Josiah Wedgwood would have done if he had been on YouTube.